So they put me out of the lab here to tell you a little bit about what we do in the pharmacology lab. So basically, what we do is this. And I'm actually not talking about this. I think you all know how this one works. At least you should. I'm talking about the thing that the lady has in her hand. So the rapid test. So a rapid test is a useful thing if you want to quickly know what's going on. And it's particularly useful in these situations, although that is kind of an obvious one, what is going on here. But this kind of rapid test is actually not only used for pregnancy, they're also used in other things. And I would like to give you a little introduction into how we develop these rapid tests, or how we come up with something for these rapid tests, when dealing with infectious diseases. So for the infectious diseases, the first thing you have to know is what actually causes the disease. So remember the last time you felt really sick and laid in bed, and it was most likely one of these guys here. So a pathogen, they call. So pathogen is the thing that actually makes you sick when you are sick in bed. And these pathogens come in all sorts of colors and flavors. So starting from a very tiny virus up to a massive 2-3 meter worm that can live in your guts. They're all considered pathogens. And the fascinating thing about this is that there are about 1,400 species of pathogens that can make you sick. Of course, they all come in different shapes and flavors, not only the pathogens, but also what they cause. And the tricky bit about that is to actually know what is the pathogen that causes what you have. A little bit on the bug we are working on, and that we are trying to get a quick test for, and that is something or disease called scrub typhus. So scrub typhus is caused by these tiny little bacteria that live in other cells. You can see them as a tiny brown blob there. And these little bacteria are transmitted by these little mites down here. So these little mites, they live inside your skin once you're infected. So they live in these clusters. And what they do is, when they feed, they actually stick little bacteria on you that then go into your body and make you really sick. The problem with this is, and that is also a problem with all the other, not all, but many of the other diseases, unless you actually find the spot where they live in, that usually comes as a tiny black hole, looks like a cigarette burn or something, the only thing you get is a fever with many of these. So it can be any of these bugs, but the only thing we see in a patient is he has a fever. And the fever is usually not caused by always the same, but by many different things. And that is essential because the treatment always depends on the bug you have. So we don't have any uniform drug for all the bacteria, all the viruses, all the things. It always depends on the pathogen, how you treat the patient. But if you just have a fever, that is kind of a problem. If you're in a first world country or in a Bangkok hospital, then you actually pay that off because you go to a very good hospital, they have a very big laboratory and a lot of staff that will just try to find out what bug is it that actually makes you sick. But if you're on a rural side, somewhere in the country up north, then you don't have these kind of fancy hospitals or laboratories. So what you really then rely on is a quick test. Something that you can use in the field. To look into a patient, which bug is it that causes the disease. And to give you an idea how we look for this bug, I will put in another kind of idea. So pathogens are actually cakes. So there are a lot of similarities between these. So cakes, same as pathogens, come in all sorts of flavors, shapes, colors. And also, if you have one of them, that's fine, but if you eat like 10 of these little guys here, you also feel very sick. So cakes are actually pathogens. And the problem is also with the cake, you maybe go into a bakery and you eat all of these, and then later you're in bed and you think, oh my God, what is happening? Why am I sick? Which one of these was the one that actually made me sick? And that's the same with the pathogens. So what we're looking for, because you often can't see the cake afterwards, you can't say it was that one, we look for a trace of the cake. And that is the same thing we do in a patient. So instead of looking for the cake, we look for the trace. So who here has children? So if your kid comes home from kindergarten or school looking like that, you can clearly say that was the pathogen. So you can clearly see that this kid has eaten this. Even though if I stand here, you can still tell that this kid has eaten a muffin that had blue icing on it, right? And that is exactly the same thing we do with the pathogen. So in a patient who has eaten the cake, we actually look for the crumbs that are around. So if we can't see the cake, we look for the crumbs. So basically what we have here, right? Just if you put that in a sciencey term, we would call that a biomarker. So biomarker is like the crumbs telling us what was the cake or the bacteria. To give you an idea how we look for these biomarkers that we later use to make our quick test, we have to look into what these crumbs or cakes actually made of. Cakes are made of, and I'm sure you all have ever baked in your life, or you can even see some example of pathogen up there. They all come with protein, eggs for example, they have lipids, butter, they have some sort of sugar, salt, and believe it or not, these things have DNA in them. So it's not quite obvious what they actually have. And that is exactly the same thing that you see in a pathogen. So pathogen is also made of protein, lipid, sugar, and DNA. And if you can find any combination of these without even seeing this, we can go to the cookbook and say, yep, because it had any of these, it must be that. And that is what we try to do with our biomarker. So where do we look for the leftovers of that pathogen? So a problem is that, as you can see in that previous picture where the little girl had a black mark, that's actually where you find most of the pathogens. But the symptoms are not only there, but systematic. So let's say I'm picking in my foot, my head might hurt. That doesn't mean that the pathogen is in my head, it can still be in my foot. So you won't necessarily see the pathogen in the patient, but you might find its leftovers. And the obvious thing we look for, or where we look, is one is blood. But if I come with a needle, people usually run away, so they won't let me put needles in them. So we use urine. So we look for the eggs in the urine. And that is quite a common thing. So not only the pregnancy test earlier, we also use this urine, but it's very common for cancer. So in the urine you will find about 2,000 proteins. They are your proteins, so your body gets rid of excess, but also of cells that are mutated in a way. So you find these markers for 27 common cancer types, and also 500 rare ones you can find in the urine. And what we do, we simply try to take this principle and move it to infectious diseases. Yeah, but how? Nice, right? So you have urine and gland. So how do you actually get your marker from the urine onto a little dipstick? So what we do, we have our ducts in the urine, we get rid of the protein, we collect the protein, because that's the thing we're interested in, and then we use something called high-resolution mass spectrometry. It's all clear, right? Everything is fine. So what this thing does, let me show you one first. So mass spectrometers come in big boxes, and as you can see, they're quite heavy. You need a lot of people to move them, so the whole set is about 1 ton of weight. Inside, if you unpack it, looks like a big pack of vacuumized coffee. The only difference is that pack of coffee is worth about 30 million baht, so it's quite an expensive coffee. And it's so big and expensive that you better get a monk to bless it. We want to make sure that it's perfect coffee. And that's how it looks from the front side. And actually I must say, this really works for these machines. Like, we get some beautiful results of that. It's really, yeah. So we had a really monk setting it up.
Do you still have the rope, or do you have the rope, the white rope that we normally use for this?
No, it was kind of a different, purposely cut off that he's barefoot. Sorry, background, which you shouldn't be barefoot in the lab. Also, we had to make sure he's not spraying water on the. So he just threw this one, but it actually works.
So you don't get negative results.
Of course, you get them, but you get a lot of positive results. So this thing is not that high. It's quite a fancy equipment, but what it actually is, and you can make one at home, it's a spray bottle. Spray bottle. And a vacuum cleaner. And a balance. And what that does, I'm going to explain in a bit. Wait, where's my balance? Young man, can I borrow you? Stay there. So, to get an idea how this works, how you can use this to actually measure proteins, I have to give you some protein. Here we go. You have to look how proteins look like. So you have your cake. The cake comes in crumbs. And in the crumbs you find DNA, sugar, and proteins. So I call you big protein. If you can see already, proteins are made up of smaller subunits. Subunits, I shouldn't say that, I should say little other particles. So these little insides, we call them amino acids. And every protein has a specific composition of amino acids inside. And this composition of amino acids determines what the protein is. So this pack, actually, the inside tells you what is the outside. And that's the same for protein. And all of these little amino acids have a certain weight. So if I know the weight of all of them, I can know the exact weight of the entire protein, and therefore can tell that this protein is this. So, how does that exactly work? First thing, what we do in the lab, we crack open the protein, because you want to have the smaller subunits. Just let me do that for a second. So here we are, amino acids. These amino acids, first of all, have to go inside the machine. So what we do with these amino acids, we actually spray them a bit. So this happens in front here. You can see that here. So our chopped up open protein into amino acids goes in this little tube, which is tiny, 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 into the opening of the MS. And that basically happens by spraying it. So we use this to make a mist out of the amino acids and get them inside the mass spec. If you look inside the mass spec, it looks fancy if you're reading into this, but I can tell you what to see. So basically we go into here, and then we have our vacuum cleaner inside, and then in the end, you have a detector, which is basically the balance. So if I want to know the weight of this, I basically make a mist and put it on the detector. So, well, it's science. It's science. Safety first. So it goes in front, mist, and then the detector will catch it. The problem there is the detector can't actually tell the mass because there comes a cluster. So what you need is some way of making the cluster that you spray inside into tiny little pieces. And that is where the vacuum comes in. So inside here is a big vacuum tube. And inside the vacuum tube, these things, as you can see, they come in different colors and sizes. So the bigger ones, let's say if I make a race against him, he will win because he's smaller. I will come second. The same thing happens in here. So the big ones come last and the smaller ones fly faster. So if we separate them like that, almost. That's slow. So I get these one by one on the balance. The balance that actually can process it can be weight of all the individual ones that are inside the pack. And then the machine will calculate it back and give me the entire mass of the whole thing. And from there I can tell back which one was my candidate. So that's what the mass spec does. So this candidate that we discovered from here, we then can start developing a quick test. And once we have this quick test, we can skip the entire bottom bit, apply the urine pool right to the test and get an identification of the pathogen. And that's where we actually right now with our swab typhus test, so we have gone here at this stage, so we have identified candidates and we'll soon move them hopefully to this stage and then have a quick test for swab typhus. Thank you.